Hello and welcome to Behind the Headlines for the week ending June 26, 2020. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Behind the Headlines is a podcast that looks at the top stories of the week, the most read stories of the week on obj.ca. As usual, I'm joined by two of my colleagues from Ottawa Business Journal, Peter Kovessy and David Sali. Thanks to both of them for joining me again. In today's podcast, we'll take a look at a trend to sublet office space, a sobering prediction for home prices in Ottawa, and finally, the culmination of a big community campaign that wrapped up last night. So let's go right now behind the headlines. Story number one, we're going to get you, Dave, to chime in on this. It's been a little bit of a recurring theme in this podcast that we've been talking about how businesses will be using their office space. You talked to a couple commercial real estate brokers, and they were filling you in on what might be early signs of a larger trend.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. So earlier this week and late last week, I spoke to a few brokers and some landlords around town as well, who say that it's looking like there's probably going to be a little more activity on the sublease market coming up over the next few months and perhaps year and a half. We saw that. I mentioned, I believe, last week about Centronic Canada, tech firm in Canada that's looking to sublease about 20,000 square feet of space at two buildings in the Canada North Tech Park. Well, Martin Ose, he's the managing principal at Crest Ottawa. He handled that deal. And he told me late last week that his firm has actually been working with 5 clients over the past few weeks, which is as many as he would usually see in a whole year. So he says that's one indicator right there that a lot of businesses are kind of taking a second look at just how much space they really need these days. A lot more firms think there's going to be a more flexible approach to work, which means not everybody is going to be in the office at the same time, even once people do start to return to the workplace. So they're not probably going to need quite as much space in many instances. That sort of feeling was echoed by Darren Fleming. He's the CEO of Ottawa brokerage Real Strategy. He also said he's dealing with a lot of clients who are looking to sublease space right now. A couple that occupy about 12,000 square feet and want to shed at least half of it. So he agrees that this is really starting to be a bit more of an emerging trend. Darren was saying he thinks office demand could shrink by as much as 10% in the next 6 months or so. And a few other studies recently have bared that out. They kind of suggest that the market is going to be in for a bit of a correction. I also spoke to Ray Wong from Altus Group in Toronto. They do a lot of research into these sorts of topics. He told me this is already happening in places like Vancouver and Toronto, where sublease activity has increased dramatically in the last 2 months or so. In fact, nearly doubled the amount of available real estate for sublet. And he thinks Ottawa is soon going to start heading in that direction as well. So it's going to be really interesting. As Ose told me, there's a few reasons why subleasing could be an attractive option. I said, well, who's going to rent all this space if so many people are looking to get rid of space, who's going to take it? And he said, well, there was still going to be tenants out there who want sublease space. It's generally cheaper to sublease. You don't have as long a term typically. So you know what? If you don't want to get locked into a 5 or 10 year deal, there's that advantage as well. And the space is already generally fit up, so you don't have to spend a lot of money there. So there are some things that make sublease space attractive, and we're likely going to see more of it in the very near future.
Peter, let's get your take on that. So what are you thinking about sublet?
So I think the key question is, as Dave sort of alluded, is whether or not Ottawa is going to follow the lead of Toronto and Vancouver. We started getting some second quarter statistics out this past week both those cities saw huge increases in the amount of sublease space coming to market. Ottawa, by contrast, did hold steady, so we haven't seen the same sort of trends there. I think there's three key questions that are really going to shape whether or not there is going to be a jump here in Ottawa versus the general state of the economy. Are companies going to be healthy? Are they going to keep their headcounts where they are, or hiring, or are they going to be looking to cut costs? The other two questions are a bit more fun to explore, which is, how is this big teleworking experiment going to work? Are we going to see the same number of employees in offices as we did pre-pandemic, or will companies simply have less of a need for desks? Or conversely, will companies want their employees back in offices and then need to spread those employees out, and therefore be looking to actually increase their footprints so that all their employees can work at a safe physical distance from their colleagues?
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic, and one that I think all businesses are dealing with: how to use their office space and how all that fits into this telecommuting type trend. Listen, we're going to go to story number 2, and Peter will get you to chime in on this. I think we've often thought that Ottawa's residential housing market is on fire. The prices are increasing at an incredible rate. And amid all of that optimism comes a little bit of pessimism, possibly, with a report from CMHC. Do you want to share some news on that?
So the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation did put out their forecast for the coming years for major Canadian markets across Canada. Surprisingly, as you mentioned, they predicted that Ottawa home prices are actually going to soften a bit in 2021, not by a huge amount, but a softening nonetheless. This came as a bit of a surprise, just because I was really struck. I couldn't remember, the last time we even saw sort of the predictions of an absolute decline in housing prices here in Ottawa. We've got the stable employment base from the federal government. We've got the tech sector, which by most accounts is still doing well with its high-paid jobs. So this did come as a bit of a surprise. CMHC did still point to uncertainty surrounding future incomes, uncertainty surrounding job losses, potentially dragging down the market. I guess the other curiosity is that one of the big factors that have really sent housing prices in Ottawa soaring has been the limited supply. There aren't that many houses being brought to market, being put on the resale market. CMHC did acknowledge that that's likely to continue, and that's likely what's going to drive then a rebound in housing prices in 2022, according to CMHC.
Well, there's always a lot of predictions built into these things, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if they're right. If at least the market will cool and prices might drop, it'll be interesting to see. Listen, story number 3 is a little bit of navel gazing. Involves two things that involve OBJ, but we wanted to point them out. The first one is that Thursday, last night, was a big night for Ottawa Business Journal. A couple reasons there. One was that there is a North American-wide competition that is announced every summer for business journals. And David Sali, right here on this call, won a award for his feature writing. Dave's being modest, Peter, so you're going to talk about it.
So Dave did win an award from the Alliance of Area Business Publishers for Silver Award for Best Feature. It was for an article that he penned last summer about the real challenges as well as opportunities facing Ottawa's mid-tier malls. They're in a very unique position, facing a lot of pressure on both sides. I remember working with Dave on that story. He was out there doing what we call fashion shoe leather journalism, walking the corridors, talking to retailers, and not only hearing the challenges that they're facing, but also exploring sort of the way forward. And it's a really, really well-deserved recognition for Dave. That story did get a lot of attention across the city, and I think really touched on one of the major business stories, not only of 2019, but one that's going to be continuing to be felt in many years to come. So big congratulations for a well-deserved honor to Dave.
Absolutely. Good for you, Dave. And you're not going to talk about your award. You're going to talk about something else. The second big thing about Thursday night was it was this culmination of a weeks-long campaign called Ottawa Stronger Together. I guess at its base, this was a little bit of a rethink of something called the 40 Under 40 Awards, which OBJ has presented 23 times. So this is an awards program that dates back to the mid 1990s. This year, we couldn't have a gala. So we said, well, why don't we have an actual TV and online broadcast with full kind of production values? And we're going to bring the whole business community together to celebrate, to rally some support, and also recognize the 40 Under 40. So, Dave, you had a chance to watch the show. What are some of the takeaways on your side?
Yeah, Mike, absolutely. It was, well, I mean, I thought the show really kind of illustrated the theme of the evening, which is really resilience, right? In the face of adversity. Most of the entrepreneurs we highlighted in 40 Under 40, in one way or another, were affected by the pandemic, had to pivot, had to adapt, and just like the organizers of the show had to adapt, and really illustrated that theme well. I mean, we had some great video segments featuring great entrepreneurs like Carla Briones, how she's adapted, with her Freshie and Global Pet Foods franchises, how we had some great words of encouragement from all kinds of people. Harley Finkelstein, as you would expect, Chief Operating Officer of Shopify, he had a really, heartfelt message telling the entrepreneurs, the 40 Under 40 recipients, we've got your back. And Ottawa is a strong community. We're going to be here to help everybody rebuild stronger than ever. Those were great messages. We had Ron McLean on talking about something near to my heart, Bobby Orr, the greatest player of all time. Sorry, Wayne Gretzky. And also David Chilton. We had all kinds of celebrities. And it was capped off with a brilliant music video, by the way, produced by Khaled, who does this segment as well. Great job from a group of CEOs called 6 Over 40. You had a great group there that a couple of Kevin Ford from Cali and Jonathan Card from Canaxus. I was very impressed with their rendition of After Midnight. These guys have pretty solid musical chops. I got to say, if you need a cover band, you might want to shoot them an email. I don't know if this is only going to be a one-off. It was a world exclusive, but who knows? I mean, we've seen how many times of the Stones we thought they'd never come back, and they just keep coming back. So hey, you never know.
Yeah, I love the name too. 6 Over 40, of course, in recognition of the 40 to 40. They also, it was kind of fun. They adjusted the lyrics in, I think, the third verse or something like that, and give a shout out to the 40 Under 40 and some quick references to OBJ there. So that was really fun. And by the way, if you missed the broadcast, you can still go to ottawastrongertogether.ca, ottawastrongertogether.ca, and you can watch that video now on demand. Many thanks as well to Rogers TV and, by the way, all the sponsors who had to continue with their investment, but in a very different way. So that wouldn't have been possible without their financial support. So listen, we're going to wrap up. Peter, let's take this home. What's coming up next week in Ottawa Business Journal?
Just briefly, this is the final push. This is the final time to participate in the Welch LLP Ottawa Business Growth Survey. This is an annual survey of business confidence and outlook here in the nation's capital. I think it's more important than ever this year. This is an opportunity to share with policymakers and leaders in the community how your business has been affected by COVID-19, as well as the broader outlook. So we really encourage all business people in Ottawa to participate. You can find a link to take that survey at obj.ca/events.
Thanks, Peter. And yes, let's keep pushing some more completions for that survey. It's really important. Dave, quick minute to wrap up here. Your thoughts on Canada Day? Of course, Canada Day is next Wednesday. We would typically see hundreds of thousands of people come to downtown Ottawa, and a giant impact for bars and restaurants and that. What are you going to be doing or looking forward to this Canada Day?
Yeah, it's not going to be your typical Canada Day, that's for sure, Mike. I mean, I guess we can, if you want to go check out, I think we know the Chateau Laurier is reopening on Canada Day. So some people might head downtown and go to I believe they'll have a patio there, and there will be plenty of other patios open too. You may want to get there early. That would be my suggestion. And there's still, I mean, Ottawa is a beautiful city to walk around and just get out, enjoy the canal, or whatever areas of nature might be near you, and just have more of a low key celebration of Canada's birthday this year.
Well, Dave, there's no question that 2020 is going to be a Canada Day to remember, like, in fact, the rest of the year. It'll be interesting to see how Canada Day plays out, especially downtown. So listen, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks to you, David. Thanks to you, Peter, for joining us. Congrats on your awards, Dave, on your big award. Thank you. Thanks for all the work you do. If you want to watch these podcasts, you can visit our YouTube channel, OBJ's YouTube channel. This podcast is also available in an audio format on Spotify. So you can check that out. Just do a quick search. That's all the time we have for this week. So for David, Sali, and Peter Kovessy, I'm Michael Curran signing off. Keep on watching and stay connected.